All right. I am live. Um, we are going to work on the terrain today a bit. So, yesterday after I kind of signed off, I took a little bit of a break, kind of, and I ended up re-exporting the height map with lakes this time and making some changes because I didn't like the reference. So the reference export like had a lot of gray in it, so a lot of dead zones, and I wasn't a big fan. I also forgot to export the snow map. It's like this is where the snow is. So I'm gonna do that as a difference, right? So like I'm gonna add that, try and add that along with trees and stuff like that. But we're gonna have to do we're gonna have to make trees now. And that's gonna be quite possibly a little bit difficult. So if we come back here, we can see the likes. Now I think for now I'm going to not procedurally generate the likes and instead just procedurally generate like everything else essentially. So I figured out what was going wrong with the train before, right? So if I go to 0 here, moves that way the fuck down there. Now, if I go to the water body river thingy, right, and I bring this down, way down. Right, and then I do player start, and I bring this down to 0. And then way down right here. I'm going to play and we can see it. Huh. It's kind of there, but not really, right? Like, I'm not crazy, right? Like, the water's barely there. I wonder if I bring this... oh, no, that's the player start. If I bring this down, bring the water thing up here, when does it start actually getting textured? Or is it because the water... Is it that or this? Huh. Okay, so we need to bring it up to... Okay, so at least here. So I think we're gonna... Yeah, I think we're just gonna move everything back. Yeah, there we go. We've got nice water. That's fine. It's a bit high, right? But like the water's there, right? It kind of comes over here too. So we're gonna have to like limit the width of this because the water's too way too big. So water body here. But it is also it's It's also backwards. This is actually a little bit hard because of the deformation, right? All right, so okay. Actually, I think I should just delete this for now because it's getting in the way. And we should now that we know water works, and I got water working. And so what the issue was is when I imported the landmass, I didn't check a box, right? And then I needed to add this water brush thingy, right? And then I also needed to um, uh, adjust the water material. So if we come to the water body river, right, and we go to rendering, we'll see these. And it was specifically, I think it was this one specifically that needed to be updated. Yeah. Use fixed Z needed to be checked. Essentially, if I checked this on for a river and a lake, it instantly fixed the problem where the sides of the river were like shooting up way into the sky for some god awful reason that I don't understand, right? But it fixed the problem, and I totally freaking forgot to grab my water. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. All right, so what we're going to do is grab a smart material for terrain. I may or may not actually already have one in here. So I've been adding stuff here. Wait, what is this? Oh, conversations. Okay, that's an animation pack. Level prototype. No, I want a. I think I've got. I don't know if there's any smart materials in any of this. Okay. I don't think I've got a smart material in here. It's definitely not that. The water material, I don't. So this water material here is like a different kind of material, right? It's a toon shader for water, right? It actually is supposed to look really nice, though. I don't know if we'll even be able to see it. Doesn't really look like it, but let's see, Unreal Engine Marketplace. I think I have some smart materials that we can just like toss on this. Smart. I might be able to find a free smart material. Apparently not. Damn, they get expensive. The answer might be to make our own. Did I add that to? No. Okay, so all. We're going to do that. And then we want environment. I'm just going to take a quick look at environment. Does this have a smart material? I feel like this would. Stylized water shader. Suitable for all platforms. Or suitable for one to do. Train auto material with 8. Yes! This is exactly what we want for now. Dreamscape. Add to project. I'm just going to close this down for now. What's this one? Is this one like... Oh, this one might have been better. Let's see. For changing landmass material. See, 32 landscapes. Different light setups. Basic landscape material. Ah, they've got a landscape material. Ah, whatever. We've come too far. Because their landscape materials actually look pretty good. They might fit with something easier to do for now, but at the moment, we're just going to not worry because at the end of the day, we just want something to kind of view specific areas, right? And that's what we want. Procedurally generate almost any nature scene you can think of with this asset. Interesting. Rivers. The rivers are all spline generated with a material that increases the speed of the river based on the slope and angles of the geometry of home to the top. Bias base of any waterfall, so there's extra work on your part. Just place it and go. That's kind of cool. I wonder if this would be performant enough. What else do they have? This might be a good way to go, too. Did they mention that they had materials? Moss placement, train blend materials. Ah, they've got train blend materials, too. Okay, I might actually borrow some of this because that solves one of the problems that I know that I'm already going to have, which is placing the rivers procedurally is something that I still don't know exactly how I'm going to pull off. And I'd like to not be shoved into a box of doing it by hand. But I also know that that's a very distinct possibility, and I might be just might just be the way that it goes, right? This is such a huge project now. It has so much in it. Let's see here. Dreamscapes series here. Okay, would this be maybe this one? Materials. Ooh, train. There it is. Okay, so first things first. Oh, okay, so it's still here. We are going to delete this. We are going to focus on this. We are going to take the landscape and say, oh wait, no, let's go back. I want to try and get this as low as possible. I want to fix the location here. Let's go 200. Say 500. Hmm. Oof. Okay, so yeah, it definitely landscape definitely needs to come up. Maybe a bit too much. See? Okay, so this seems to be good still. Is the water going down? I don't think it is. No, it's not. Okie dokie. There we go. So this is the minimum height that we can go. Oof. Okay, and then at least we brought it down to a more reasonable height, right? Under the world. Under the world. There we go. Look how big this is. It cuts through everything so much. Okay, so we've got the content here. Let's just drag and drop and see what happens. Okay, so apparently nothing. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Do, 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 do. Please don't crash. Hey, it didn't crash. Super happy about that. Okay, rendering. Okay, maybe this would be landscape. Ah, here we go. Oh, wait, no, this is just... Is this... Hey, so I think this is it. Okay. Material is not taking effect. Beautiful. All I want was the material to come in and just do it. Landscape material. Do I need to do... Hmm. There's preview landscape. Hmm. I don't know. Okay, so this doesn't want to work. So if we save everything, save all. Come back to here. Go back to library. We want materials. Oh no, so environment, yeah. Or actually, wait, I can make my own thing out of the materials for here. Okay, I think this one actually is the material. Mm, auto material terrain? No, this is a different thing. Mm. I thought there was a terrain mountain. Let's see. Here we go. Unreal Engine, apply. Okay. Landscape specific material nodes. Instead of inside the material editor, there are 6 specific nodes that can be used with the landscape system. Do. Landscape, yeah. Migrating textures. Oh. That's why. It needs a specific landscape material now. Is this one actually labeled as a landscape material? 23 landscapes. Height map. Okay. YouTube.com. Landscape material UE5. I need this to be relatively relatively recent-ish.
Hi, I'm back with the second part of the material section of my God tier landscapes tutorial series on YouTube. So this is going to be a direct follow-up to the last video, which if you haven't watched, you don't need to watch. You need to make sure you go and watch the first two videos in this playlist in order to get a landscape and get the splat maps you need in order to follow this tutorial. But if you're an intermediate level or you've worked a little bit with landscape materials before, the last video really is just an introduction for beginners to how we might start to think about setting up a landscape material. And to be honest, the way that I set the material up in the previous video, that's pretty much the way that most of the materials you can get on the marketplace themselves. They just take it a lot further, make it a lot more complex. This big sprawling network of nodes.
Okay, maybe I do have some landscape stuff. Wait, did I add beefy grass?
That seems completely impenetrable to newcomers. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to create a material that's way more powerful, or equally powerful as some of the best landscape materials you can get on the marketplace, but you're going to understand it, and it's going to be set up in such a way that you can easily go in and modify and make huge sweeping changes in a matter of minutes. I hope to ram the point home by the end of this video that making landscape materials isn't as complex as you might imagine it to be, or nor is it as complex as it once was, and that's all thanks to the brand new material layers workflow that exists inside Unreal. Previously, in the last video, if you followed along, it takes a really, really long time to go through and to set up all of the names of the parameters. And then if you want to make a change to the way the material works, and you want that change to apply to every layer, let's say you want to add some macro variation, let's say you want to reduce the specular shine on the landscape, you have to go through and do that on every single layer individually. That means creating a new parameter, that means naming the parameter, that means assigning the parameter to a group so that it's easy to find it when you're working inside a material instance. Wouldn't it be great if there was a way to
New
just
folder?
set up a single layer, to do that one time, and then to have that be a reusable function that you can reuse throughout your material instance without having to go and create the names for each layer individually? And wouldn't it be great if inside of the material instance, if you wanted a new layer, you don't have to go back to the master material and set it up inside of the node graph. You just hit a little plus icon to add a new layer to the stack, like in Photoshop, and it automatically creates material for you and you can set up any code you want entirely inside the material instance. Well, thankfully, that exists. It's material layers, and that's what we're going to dive into now. So let's begin. This is the material that we created last time. It already looks pretty good, and you could reduce that tiling by blending in a few different layers, but it would take a lot of time to go and do that if you were using the traditional method. In previous versions of Unreal, dating back to I think 4.24 or 4.23, you had to go into the project settings, and you had to search something called material layers, and you had to enable the material layers. I can't remember if it was in the project settings or it was in the editor preferences. I imagine project settings, but if you don't find it, have a look in the preferences if you're in an older version of Unreal. And you had to go and you had to actually enable the material layers feature. So right now, in the editor preferences, you can find the example layers and blends switch here, which will...
Wait, is that something that might not be enabled right now? Okay, yeah, it's checked. Sweet.
Just make that workflow a little bit more intuitive. And I believe that this will automatically be ticked and set up already. So as of 4.27 and possibly 2.6, there's no need to go and enable the layers and blends. They're already set up by default. So I'm going to click on the landscape, and I'm going to navigate to where this landscape beginner is set up. And we're just going to create an entirely new master material. We're going to call this landscape. Got here because that's the silly name I gave this series on YouTube. And we're going to do the same thing that we've done with last time, which is we're going to turn on use material attributes. So we get rid of the make material attributes there. And now we're going to search for a node called layers. You can see that we find a node called material attribute layers. I'm going to name this landscape layers. And this is kind of a bizarre node. It doesn't really behave like any of the other nodes. And this is effectively what allows us to take full advantage of this new material paradigm. We don't really have to do much else inside of the master material itself. So you can see that with this selected, we
Wait. What did I miss
no
here?
layers because we haven't created any layers. So we need to go ahead and set up a base attribute. So we get landscape got here because that's the silly name I gave this series on YouTube. And we're going to do the same thing that we began with last time, which is we're going to turn on use material attributes. So we get rid of the make.
Okay.
Material attributes there. And now we're going to, that's the silly name I gave this series on YouTube. And we're going to do the same thing that we began with last time, which is we're going to turn on use material attributes. So we get rid of the make material attributes there. And now we're going to search for a node called layers. And you can see that we find a node called material attribute layers. I'm going to name this landscape layers. And this is kind of a bizarre node. It doesn't really behave like any of the other nodes. And this is effectively what allows us to take full advantage of this new material paradigm. We don't really have to do much else inside of the master material itself. So you can see that with this selected, we've got this little layers drop down, and by default, we have no layers because we haven't created any layers. So we need to go ahead and set up a basic layer function that is going to be the basis of all of the layers that we use on this. So we're going to make it once, and then that's going to be the layer that we use everywhere. So I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call this tier landscapes. And I'm going to move that over to here. And now inside of here, I'm going to right click again, and this time I'm going to go and create a material layer. So this gets the same icon as a function because it is.
Okay. Material.
Is in essence a function, but it's a function with a couple of special inputs and outputs. So I'm going to type ML for material layer. I'm going to call this landscape basic. So this is going to be a basic landscape material. And you'll see, I'm not going to close it because I want to open. And you're going to see with this open, we get the input material attributes and we get the output material attributes. So basically it can take in a material and it can pass out a material. And then we have this set material attributes, which currently doesn't have any attributes being set. So that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is we actually want to set up all of the layers that is going to comprise our basic material landscape. And they comprise a single landscape layer. So I'm going to click the set material attributes. I'm going to click plus here, probably 4 or 5 times. And that's going to bring up all of these layers. Now,
which one? Oh, this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sure.
That we don't need to set the metallic, so we're going to ignore that. We're going to delete that one. We do want to set the specular. We do want to set the roughness. We do want to create a normal as well, and we possibly want to pass through ambient occlusion. But
okay, let's blow this up so I can see it properly. And obviously, like you said, we don't need metallic. We've got material attribute, base color, spectral. Oh, this needs to be spectral. This one's going to be roughness. This one will set to normals. And ambient inclusion.
tell you what, yeah, so for the time being, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to keep it to those 5 layers. And I'm going to create a texture parameter, an actual texture sample parameter, 2D. I'm going to call this one.
Wait.
An actual texture sample parameter.
Texture sample parameter. Oh, okay. Texture sample parameter 2D.
2D. I'm going to call this one color with the English spelling. I'm going to create roughness. I'm going to create the normal.
Okay, so this would be base color. Roughness.
I'm going to create AO as well. Now, there are lots of things that we could do to optimize this material, such as packing our textures, but that's going to be the subject again of a future tutorial. So, and there's plenty of resources about it online, which I'll make available in the description too. So I'm just going to select all of these nodes, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time when the textures were not displaying correctly on the landscape. I'm going to preempt that issue occurring again. I'm going to set the sample source to shared wrap.
Wait, what did he do?
Correctly on the So I'm just going to select all of these nodes, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time when the textures were not displaying correctly on the landscape. I'm going to preempt that issue occurring again. I'm going to set the sample source to shared wrap. Setting it to shared wrap increases the number of texture samplers that we're allowed to use inside of Unreal, inside of a single material from, I think it is 15 or 16 up to, it might be, I think it's over 100. I can't remember exactly how many, but it greatly increases the number of individual textures you're able to use in a single material like this. And I'm just going to hook the color into the base color. I'm going to hook the R output there of roughness.
Okay, and then we're just going to do base color.
I'm going to hook in the normal ambient occlusion, again, just for the R channel. And then I'm just going to hold S and click to create a roughness. I'm going to hook in the normal ambient occlusion, again, just for the R channel. And then I'm just going to hold S and
Okay, ambient inclusion into the R channel and normals into the normals.
Click to create a specular value. And by default.
Wait, what did he just do? I think it was just like 1. Right?
I'm going to just for the R channel. And then I'm just going to hold S and click to create a specular
Oh, okay.
value.
I did that wrong. We're going to hold S and hit click. Okay.
And by default, I'm going to leave that on 0.1. Let's leave it on 0.5 since that's what it defaults to if you don't plug anything in. So we've created this. Now we need to make sure that the sampler types are set to the correct sampler type. So this normal currently is set to color. So I'm going to set the default normal to be base black and normal. That changes the sampler type to normal. And then
Wait, what? Okay, normal.
For the AO and the roughness, I'm going to change that to white square texture, since that is going to, for the roughness, make it fully rough, and for the AO, mean no AO. So this is kind of our blank.
Wait. What did I get wrong with the normals here?
We need to make sure that the sampler types are set to the correct sampler type. So this normal currently is set to color. So I'm going to set the default normal to be base flat and normal. That changes the sampler type to normal. And then
Oh, okay. I think this needs a different normal.
for the AO and the roughness, I'm going to change that to white square texture, since that is
And this also should be a mask.
no AO. So this
Isn't
is
it?
kind of our
No.
setup in a sense of a single
Okay, color it
landscape
is.
layer. I'm going to apply, I'm going to say, we're going to go back to this landscape layers, the actual master material where we put our landscape layers node. And then for the layer asset, you're now going to see we get this ML landscape basic that we created. I'm going to plug that in there. And that's, you can see the output has changed. So that's what it's displaying by default.
Hmm.
Displaying that basic layer that we set up in the function. So at this point, I'm going to create a material instance from the landscape.
Okay. We want where the fuck did I put this thing? Oh, here we go. Here.
Material, master material. So I'm going to create a material instance. I'm going to call that MI GT landscape. And
My landscape.
I'm going to pull that over and plug it in into the landscape material slot.
Okie dokie.
I'm going to lose all of that lovely texturing that we set up before and just get this. Okay, so that's not a problem.
I am literally getting nothing. Real Engine landscape material not showing up. Also had this issue and solved it by just switching from sculpt to paint tab inside the landscape mode and all layers. Wait, what? Dude, it's simple. Your landscape material is not assigned. Do it manually by going into details tab of your landscape for landscape material and click search for the and select this will apply your matte. Okay, let's go landscape. Somebody said paint. How did I get this again? This is supposed to be the right thing. Okay, what if I switch off and switch back? So if I just switch to one of my other things, maybe that will work. There's my tavern. Back to landscape. Where'd my landscape go? All right. In weird? Landscape. Delete. Don't need a second landscape. Don't mind me. Import or export. Add delete spline. All right, first things first. Let's go back to select here, and we're just going to delete these because I don't actually want to keep them there. They're destroying my landscape. Save all. Content. No. Landscape. Paint. Blueprints. Water brush manager. Flatten smooth paint. Target layers. How do I add a new layer? Ooh, I hate this so much. Okay, let's go back to select. Details. Let's write this down. We're just going to try and rebuild this for like the 18th time. We're just going to rebuild it. 500 times later. Eventually this will work. All right, so we're going to do 0, 0, 3, 2, 7, 1. And then 50, 50, 50. Okay. Let's try this. Okay. Landscape. Import from file. We do not have an empty file. We did actually need to change this anyways, so because the new height map has rivers and whatnot on it, right? So okay, so scale 50, 50, 50. We want the location 003271. The material we want MI landscape. Fit to data and import. Oh shit, I forgot to do something. Damn it. Okay, don't mind me. We've got to start over. Enable edit layers. There we go. Data. Import. There we go. Then we go. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. You know, that's not the end of the world. uh, we're going to get there eventually. Someday over the rainbow. All right, I'm like, I'm getting there eventually. Okay. Delete. Delete. Yes to all. File. Landscape. Material. Import. Height map. 3271. Enable edit layers. Import. Hey, it's working. Oh God, please don't crash. Of course it crashed. Ah. It might have been too much to ask that it didn't crash. Okay, let's try this again. Yes to all. Landscape mode. Save all. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Please, for the love of God, do not crash. Thank God. Boom. Okay. All right, we can run around in this little world. I'm going to hit escape and it's probably about to crash. Oh my God, it didn't crash. Sweet. Okay.
We're going to open up the material instance now, and you're going to see that in the details panel, which is where we were previously working with the old material to change all the parameters, we get nothing apart from a few default presets, including the m_landscape_god tier, which you can see here. So what we've got now, which was
Okay, so what I want to do here is come here and see if this is going to affect anything. I'm just going to go with grass and save. Yeah, okay. It's already working. Sweet.
where we're actually going to work is this layer parameters drop down up here. And you can see that we've got this background layer that we set up inside of the master material. It's called background. So this is the first layer that gets spawned, but we also get, if we open this up, access to all of those parameters that we defined inside of the material layer. And not only that, we can click this little plus icon here to create a new layer. We can sample that same material layer, and you can see that it's taking a little while to compile the shaders here as it gets everything set up under the hood. And then if we expand that drop down, we get access to those same texture parameter values and scalar parameter values that we defined in the material layer. But they're not going to override those for the background. These are, just to be clear, these are two entirely different layers. It doesn't matter that the parameters are named the same in here. And this is really powerful. This is how we go from having a really static, inflexible, and slow workflow when creating landscape materials to being able to iterate on the fly in seconds rather than minutes or possibly even hours. So, okay, we can go ahead. I'm going to name this layer grass here because it's useful to remain organized. And then I'm going to create another two layers too. I'm going to create the sediment layer, and I'm going to create the rock layer.
Okay, we're gonna definitely do that. Okay, so the background layer. Let's add another one. And we'll make this one grass. I think we can move these around, right? Yeah, so, okay, so this would be, what? Rock. This would be sand. Snow. And rock. Okay, and then I'm thinking that we will organize these differently. So snow at the top. And then this background layer here. Let's do with this, let's do with our, this one. We'll save.
And then inside of here, I'm just going to have to hook up each of those. And once they're all hooked up, you're going to see that the same parameters exist inside each of those layers. But this isn't all that the landscape material layers workflow asks of us. If you have a look under each layer, you're going to see that you have a layer asset. You also have a blend asset. And the blend asset is really important. It doesn't define the look of a single layer itself, but it's an asset which defines how that layer gets blended in. So if you remember, if we go back and have a quick little look at the previous material, we're using this node called blend material attributes, and then we're plugging in a layer sample, in this case, sample rock, into the blend material attributes there. And if we follow the chain back up, it's just going from the make material attributes. That's the A input, this blend material attributes. And wherever there's sample grass, it blends in B, which is grass. And we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it inside of this new material creation paradigm. We need to create an asset called material layer blend. I'm going to call that ML.
Wait. Is there a material layer blend in here? Layers info. Mountains. Okay. Whatever. Okay, so we're going to open this up a little bit more. We're going to come back to R1, right? We're going to do landscape materials. And then here, I think he said that it was material layer blend. Something like that, right?
But it's an asset which defines how that layer gets blended in. So if you remember, if we go back and have a quick little look at the previous material, we're using this node called blend material attributes, and then we're plugging in a layer sample, in this case, sample rock, into the blend material attributes there. And if we follow the chain back up, it's just going from the make material attributes. That's the A input, this blend material attributes. And wherever there's this sample grass, it blends in B, which is grass. And we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it inside of this new material creation paradigm. We need to create an asset called material layer blend. I'm going to call that MLB, and we're going to call this grass layer. I'm going to jump inside of this, double clicking it. And by default, it's already set up pretty much everything for us. We just need to input one thing. You can see it's handling named bottom layer, top layer, and output there. And we just need to define the alpha. So how are we going to define the alpha? You might have guessed it. We're going to just take a sample grass. In fact, I'll search in here, and I'm going to type in landscape layer sample. There we go. Sample none. I'm going to change that to grass.
Okay, so wait, let's move these over. This one here over. We'll move this over a bit too. And land sample.
And now I'm going to plug that into the alpha there. I'm going to hit apply, save.
Okay, apply, save.
Going to go back in, and now a layer sample. We're going to just take a sample grass. In fact, I'll search in here, and I'm going to type in how are we going to define the alpha. You might have guessed layer, top layer, and output there. And we just need to define the alpha. So how are we going to define the alpha? You might have guessed it. We're going to just take a sample grass.
Okay, yeah, it's just.
In fact, I'll search in here.
Yeah, okay.
Type into the material instance for that. I'm going to hit apply.
Okay.
Save. I'm going to go back into the material instance. I'm going to close the old material because it's just up there floating, and I'm going to get it out of my taskbar because it's taskbar. Is that a taskbar? Bookmarks, and it's just in the way. So now on this layer called grass, I'm going to go where it says none down here. You can see we've got a bunch of layer blends by default, but we want to use the new material layer blend grass layer. So I'm going to plug that in there. Okay.
There.
So by default, we're not going to see any change, and that's because we haven't defined the layers to look different in any way at this point. So in order to do that, I'm going to go back. I could just plug in the textures, but before we do that, I'm just going to add a functionality to the material layer that I know
Wait,
all of the
what
layers
did...
need to have. But before we do that, I'm just point. So in order to do that, I'm going to go back. I could just plug in the textures, but before we do that, I'm just going to add a functionality to the material layer that I know all of the layers need to have, and that is the ability to tint the texture. So I'm going to hold M on the keyboard and click to put down a multiply, and V on the keyboard and click to put down a vector. I'm going to call this tint. By default, the tint is going to be white. That is no tint at all. I'm going to multiply that in there. And then I'm going to hit apply.
Now I have actual different materials, so this should automatically work.
Instance. And in the grass layer, go down, we see there's a new vector parameters drop down with the tint parameter available there, and I'm going to make it red. So in theory, I should see that applying to the terrain. Now, why am I not seeing that applying to the terrain? Well, you could be justified in thinking that it's because we haven't assigned a blend layer to each of these layers above this, and they're higher than this layer in the stack. So perhaps not having a blend layer is equal to filling the terrain with that material. So it's not that, even though that is a logical conclusion to come to.
Okay, right now, everything looks to be sand.
So what happens if we go into the viewport again, and let's press Shift-2 to jump into the landscape editing mode. We're going to see that we've got these question marks next to each of the layers in the panel here. So what does the question mark mean? Does it mean that the layer no longer exists? Well, let's have a little look. Let's go and have a look in the visualizers and look at the layer debug and press R, G, and B.
Wait, let's go back to that. Okay, so he's in landscape.
We can see that all... Well, let's have a little look. Let's go next to each of the layers in
Okay, and then he went paint.
the panel here. So what does the question mark mean? Does it mean that the layer no longer exists?
I have no layers. What? Why I have no layers?
Well, let's have a little look. Let's go and have a look in the visualizers and look at the layer debug.
This is difficult.
And press R, G, and B, and we can see that all of the layer information is still there. So we've still got the layers. We didn't lose those somehow. So what is the problem? Well, the problem is the fact, due to a slight kind of peculiarity of how the material layer system is set up, if you don't reference the landscape layers inside of the master material, the top level of the material itself, then the landscape's not going to know that they exist, and it's going to give you these little question marks. It's not going to know where to apply those layers. So how do we get around this? We've set up our layers samples inside of the blend assets themselves. Now, this is perfectly logical and intuitive. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. So we're going to have to do something that's a little bit less logical, a little bit less intuitive. Well, it's still logical, and I'll explain to you why it works, but it's not a conclusion that you might just arrive at quickly. So I thought about this for a little bit. I was like, how are we going to actually get the data? We're going to set up the layers. So let's just do that first of all. Let's declare these layers inside of here. Now, okay, we've got them in our master material.
Wait. We're going to go into the master material. And we're going to just sample layer landscape layer sample. This will be grass. Sand. Wait a second. I got these a little bit backwards, don't I? It's supposed to be grass. And I think sand is going to be the bottom one, then rock, then... Yeah, that seems about right. Okay. So do sand, grass, rock, rock, snow.
or the main layer. And we've also got them declared inside of each of the layer blends. And we somehow
I didn't make all of them. Ah, what a guy. Okay. Okay, so the grass layer is grass. Rock layer needs to be renamed here. Rock. This one needs to be sand and snow. Okay.
need to replace the reference to
Oh, wait. And then in here, we need to go to the different layers and MLB sand, MLB rock, and MLB no. Okay, yeah, there we go. Save.
this. We need to now pipe it directly from the master material through the landscape layers so that it comes out and we can use it inside of the blend layer. So how do we do that? Okay, well, we're going to have to abuse a certain aspect of how the material set up. We're going to have to take advantage of customized UVs. So customized UVs are just like UV channels in essence. If you imagine you have a static mesh, you have the UV channel 0, which is where you store which correlates to your texture information. If you're using baked lighting, you might have another UV channel which you use for the light maps. But you can actually have up to, I think, unrealized, you have 7 or 8 different UV channels, and each of those can contain custom data. So we abuse that in a lot of different ways. We abuse that to create wind. That's how SpeedTree handles its wind, as it stores custom data in the UVs. It's how you use Pivot Painter. Pivot Painter 1 stores information relating to the pivots in the UVs. But we can actually use these UVs to carry any sort of data. And you're going to see, if I just do a quick make material attributes, am I going to get any of those? No, we're not going to get them here. So what I've got to do is actually, I'm going to go as set material attributes. Now remember, that's the same thing we did inside of the material layer itself, set material attributes. And the set material attributes is just like a make material attributes, except it allows you to be a little bit more selective about which ones you override. So it keeps things neater. That's all we're using this for. But it also allows us to add a few attribute types. I'm going to add 2, and I'm going to use the UV channel 1 and UV channel 2. Okay.
Okay. UV 1, UV.
So we've got these 2 node inputs, which by
Oh, wait. Okay, yeah.
default won't do anything unless we make them do something. And what we're going to do is we're going to use those to carry this data, these layers that we've set up in the master material, the main material, and they're going to get channeled into the landscape layers. First of all, they're going to get channeled into the landscape basic, as that's the very first base layer. And that's going to get sampled here in this input material attributes. So this is a function input, which is going to take these material attributes that we pass through here. This then gets carried forwards, and we're setting the layer parameters, the specific layer parameters, base, color, specular, roughness, normal, ambient occlusion. But at this stage, we're not overwriting those customized UVs, which get channeled through. So they get preserved. We take them through to the output material attributes. Now, after this output material attributes, we're going to jump inside of the material layer blend, and you're going to see we've got this input bottom layer and input top layer. So what these inputs carry over is they carry over this output material attributes that comes from the layer itself. So if we just go through that all once more, we start by setting up the customized UVs, which contain our layer data. So customized UVs are 2 channels each. So that means we can plug the grass and the rock into UV1, the sediment and another into UV2, and however many we want to add. Then we pass that into the landscape layers. Inside of the first landscape layer, that gets carried over. We set the material layer attributes, but preserve those UVs. They get passed as an output of that layer into the blend layer where you can access them both from the bottom and the top. Now, if we were to do a get material attributes in here, you're going to be able to pull out whatever you want. You could pull out base color, metallic, and if you were to pull out the base color from the top and the bottom layer, they would be different. But because we're never overriding those customized UVs, we could pull out the customized UV from either of these layers, and it's going to be that same layer info that we set up in the master material. So let's go ahead and see if that works. First of all, I'm going to go back to the master material, and I'm just going to make another node called make float 2. So this is making a 2-dimensional vector, okay? Like texture coordinates, it's just 2 dimensions, but in this case, we're going to use it to pass through our layer weights.
Wait, what? Make float 2. So if we go from sand to grass, okay.
So I'm going to pass that there into the UV1, and I'm going to make another one for sediment and leave
Make float 2.
the Y empty for now. X and Y isn't really relevant to what we're doing, it's just the name of the channel. If you imagine we had a vector parameter, you have the R, G, and B, and essentially X, Y, and Z is the same as R, G, and B. It's just a different label. Okay, so we're passing these through here, and we need to make sure that these are actually going into our landscape layers. So after we have set up all
Okay, so then what he's done is he's come over here.
of this inside of the master material, we're going to jump through. We don't need to do anything inside of the material layer, as that is only responsible for setting up the layer-specific parameters like texture information, but we are going to go into the material layer blend. What we're going to
Okay, so we got material layer blend for grass.
do is, for the material layer blend grass, first of all, we're just going to check which pin contains the grass. So it's simple sample grass goes into the first float value of customized UV1. Okay, so if we go back into the material layer blend grass, we've pulled out the customized UV1, and
Wait. Okay. Get attribute. Actually, before I do this, oh no, these are get material attribute. Yeah, get material attribute. Why does this not have it? Oh, here we go. Sup, Platanium Fox. How are things?
now we're going to use a node called break float to components.
Break float to components.
And this is going to bring out the R and the G. So bizarrely, in here, when we make the float 2, it refers to it as X and Y. When we come through here, it refers to it as R and G. These two channels are the same. R corresponds to X, and G corresponds to Y. I don't know why that naming convention isn't consistent. Okay, so right now, where we're using this sample grass, instead, we're just going to pipe the X or the R out of the breakout float 2 components into the alpha in place of that. And now what happens if we hit apply? Let's jump back.
I think this isn't going to quite work, but that's fine. Working on chaos vehicle basics. Nice.
and jump out of the landscape mode, jump back inside. Now what I was expecting to see is I was expecting to see this grass layer in focus.
Let's see if that actually did populate. And oh, I see the grass layer. Oh, I see all of them. This layer has no layer info assigned yet. You must create or assign a layer before you can paint this layer. How do I do that? There's a free. Which one?
Go ahead and material layer, although it doesn't sediment, we're going to hit apply everything. Material. We've now, we're going to the material instance and quickly set up a blend layer for each of these. We're going to set up the sediment, we're going to set up the rock, and let's apply a different tint to each of these layers. Now, custom material attributes from the top layer, although it doesn't matter the alpha. After we have set up all of this inside of the master material, we're going to jump through. We don't need to do anything inside of the material layer, as that is only responsible for setting up layer-specific parameters like texture information, but we are going to go into the material layer blend. What we're going to do is, for the material layer blend grass, first of all,
Yeah, go
we're
for
just
it.
going to check which pin contains the grass. So it's simple sample grass goes into the first float.
Huh? UTC. I don't think this is the same thing that I'm looking for, is it? No, maybe I'm wrong. UTC. What does UTC stand for? Oh, create master materials. Oh, I already have snowgrass and all of that. That's I'm trying to do the blend right now. So like right now I've got the grass, the snow and all of that. They're all in, where are they? In here. Now it's just a matter of getting these actually set up.
Value of customized UV1. Okay, so if we go back into the material layer blend grass, we've pulled out the customized UV1, and now we're going to use a node called break float to components, and this is going to bring out the R and the G. So bizarrely, in here, when we make the float to, it refers to it as X and Y. When we come through here, it refers to it as R and G. These two channels are the same. R corresponds to X, and G corresponds to Y. I don't know why that naming convention isn't consistent. Okay, so right now, where we're using this sample grass, instead, we're just going to pipe the X or the R out of the breakout flow.
I might have to look at it.
Alpha in place of that. And now what happens if we hit apply? Let's jump back out and jump out of the landscape mode. We can see that we're no longer getting a question mark for each of those. And jump out of the landscape mode, jump back inside. Now, what I was expecting to see is I was expecting to see this grass layer info become populated. So why hasn't that happened? Let's see what we're missing out. I suspect that it's just a peculiarity of how the material layer systems work. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply and save the landscape master itself as well to be doubly sure. And there we go. There you have it. Now that we've saved the master material itself, we can see that we're no longer getting a question mark for each of those layers. Okay, but we're still not seeing anything on the terrain. So why is that? Well, let's just go back into the material layer blends and fill out both the rock layer and the sediment layer as well, in a similar manner to the way in which we've done the grass layer. So I'm going to copy this into the rock. I'm going to double check in the master material that rock is indeed in the second float value of the first UV channel. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm getting the material attributes from the top layer, although it doesn't matter whether I get it from the top or the bottom. And then I'm going to override the rock there too. And then we're going to copy this one more time into the sediment. And this time, we don't want to get the UV channel 1. We want to get the customized UV 2. And we're going to get the R, the first float value of the second UV channel. Okay, we're going to hit apply.
Wait, do I have that set up? Okay, yeah.
We're going to hit apply. And then I'm just going to press Control, Shift, and S to save everything. Now we jump back in here. Let's go back into the material instance and quickly set up a blend layer for each of these. We're going to set up the sediment. We're going to set up the rock. And let's apply a different tint to each of these layers. And there you have it. We've now piped the layer information from the master layer. We've passed that through the custom UV channels into the landscape layers node. It gets passed through each layer where we set up the other parameters that define the layer itself, before finally being handed into the blend, where we then extract the corresponding layer information and use it to drive the blend. And although that takes a little bit of a setup, now that puts us in an amazing position. And the amazing position that we're in is that we have this new material instance setup, where we can go in and define different textures and other various parameters relating to how we want the terrain to look. So let's quickly plug in all of the textures for each of those layers.
Okay, so why am I not getting any of this? Oops. I wonder if I need to try out... Like, what if I did this as... What if I just used his method for the time being, right? No, not default layer. My weird landscape layer thing. Right? If I save this. Now... This is this one here. Give me a second. I'm going to come back. I just want to...
A single landscape layer. And that's a grass or rock into the blend material textures. But before we do that, I'm just going to add functionality to the material layer that I know all of the layers need to have, and that is the ability to tint.
Oh, it's a... Okay, so it's just a multiply. So he's going boom, 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 and then
so I'm going to hold M on the keyboard and click to put down a multiply, and V on the keyboard and click to put down a vector. I'm going to call this tint. By default, the tint is going to be white. That is no tint at all. I'm going to multiply that in there, and then I'm going to hit apply.
One sec, let me just do this. Okay, save. Do I need to do anything else?
I'm going to multiply that in there. And then by default, the tint is going to be white. That is no tint at all. I'm going to multiply that in there. And then I'm going to hit apply.
Okay. Then if I come to here, go to the layers. Let's make, sure, we'll make this one red. Is this one? This one's snow. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's. Okay, let's make snow blue for now. We'll make the rocks gray, grayish black. So they stand out. We'll make the grass green. And we'll make the sand. I don't even know how to get to that color. Brown. Okay, that comes in.
Each of those. But at this stage, we're not over. We don't need to do anything inside or the R out of the breakout float 2 components into the alpha in place of that. And now what happens if we hit apply? Let's jump back out.
Okay, so now I think we should get something. Is that a different color? Or is that just lighting? Yeah, no, it's just lighting.
And jump out of the landscape become populate how the material layer systems work. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply and save the landscape master itself as well to be doubly sure. And there we go. There you have it. Now that we've saved the master material itself, we can see that we're no longer getting a question mark for each of those layers. Okay, but we're still not seeing anything on the terrain. So why is that? Well, let's just go back into the material layer blends and fill out both the rock layer and the sediment layer as well in a similar manner to the way in which we've done the grass layer. So I'm going to copy this into the rock. I'm going to double check in the master material that rock is indeed in the second float value of the first UV channel. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm getting the material attributes from the top layer, although it doesn't matter whether I get it from the top or the bottom. And then I'm going to override the rock there.
Okay. Oh, wait. So sand is X. Okay, yeah. Okay, wait. Sand is this one. Grass is this one.
Two. And then we're going to copy this one more time into the sediment. And this time, we don't want to get the UV channel 1. We want to get the customized UV 2.
Okay, and then going to the rock. This is going to change to UV2. And UV2 rock on top. Save. Copy this, go to snow. Do the same thing. There we go.
And we're going to get the R, the first float value of the second UV channel. Okay, we're going to hit apply. We're going to hit apply. And then I'm just going to press Control, Shift, and S to save everything. Now we jump back in here. Let's go back into the material.
Give me 1 second here.
And quickly set up a blend layer for each of these. We're going to set up the sediment. We're going to set up the rock. And let's apply a different tint to each of these layers.
Okay, so I've already done that, and I don't think that it's showing up.
We've now...
So his is showing up. Do you think maybe it's like I need to set a value or something like that?
Write the layer information from the master layer. We pass that through the custom UV channels into the landscape layers node. It gets passed through each layer where we set up the other parameters that define the layer itself, before finally being handed into the blend, where we then extract the corresponding layer information and use it to drive the blend. And although that takes a little bit of a setup, now that puts us in an amazing position. And
Okay. That's he's said a lot of words and not actually shown me a lot of setup here. Unreal Engine 5 landscape material.
In this tutorial, you'll create landscapes so you can enable the paint mode in Unreal Engine 5 and can paint onto your landscape. First, we have to create some landscape. Click on the landscape icon, fill in your...
No, I don't want that one.
Hello and welcome back to 5 Minute Materials, the show where we demystify every node in the Unreal Engine material graph. Today, we're going to be looking at landscapes. What we're going to do to create a landscape is go Modes, Landscape, and if there isn't currently a landscape in your level, it will give you this pop-up menu thingo where you can choose how big you want your landscape to be, what you want its resolution to be. For this example, we're just going to be leaving it at default settings, and we're going to hit create. Okay, we now have a landscape, good for us. So going back up to select mode rather than landscape mode, we can see that this landscape needs a landscape material down here. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a new material, just a regular material, doesn't have to be anything special. We're going to call this landscape tutorial, and we're going to assign this to our landscape, even though we haven't done anything with it yet. So, welcome to the material graph. You should be very familiar with this so far. Now, a landscape material is no different to a regular material, except it can make use of the landscape layer blend node, which is incredibly powerful. And the other thing is that it can sample landscape layers. With this layer blend, over on the left-hand side, we're going to click new layer, we're going to click 3 new layers. We're going to expand these out. We're going to call the first one grass. We're going to call the second one dirt. We're going to call the next one sand. Right? Makes sense. We're going to duplicate this as well. And we're just going to get 3 colors rather than textures for now. So let's put this into our base color layer. And click save. Okay, so our landscape is still...
What? No. Is it this one? Was it this one? Maybe this was the problem. No, it wasn't that.
Still pitch black. If we go back into landscape mode, a really annoying kind of bug in the current version of the engine, your landscape layers won't actually appear up here until you, I believe, reload the map. And then we're going to go back, and then if we go to landscape, paint mode, we've got all of our layers down here. Yippee. So, first thing we need to do is create layer info. These are going to be weight blended layers, and just click OK, it'll make a folder for you. Weight blended, okay, weight blended, okay. So, you can see we've now got green. If we were to click on our dirt layer and start painting it, we now have brown, and if we get our sand layer, we've got yellow. So this is the very basis of what a landscape material is. It's a material that you can paint stuff on, and the performance benefit of using a landscape material is that the instructions for these individual material layers are only being run on chunks that actually use that layer. So imagine you've got a really, really expensive, automatic puddle water interaction layer in your landscape. You'd only want that to be run on the particular chunks that you've actually painted that down in. So that's why this is...
He does magic? Yes, he does.
Super, super powerful because you don't have to run unnecessary instructions on something that's just purely grass over here. So next thing we're going to do, and here's one I prepared earlier, we're going to top-down project some normal maps.
Damn it. All right, we're going to have to come back to this because I got to run to school. We are going to pick this up tomorrow. Tomorrow once I'm off work. In the meantime, I'm going to hand you over to Arkham here. He's doing some sculpting stuff. But thank you for showing up, man, Fox. It was great to see you again. And I will see you tomorrow. And enjoy the rest of your night.